What is up, everybody? It is, I think, January 6th, Saturday. I just finished running some errands. I'm going to try to do a quick video. Y'all know my favorite fighter is Corey Sandhagen. Corey decided he was going to copy me and start a YouTube channel where he talks to the camera. And anyways, he's put out some, I haven't gotten to watch all of them, but he put out one. Been catching them as they've been coming out. I just got to go retrack on some of them. But he put out one where it was like the top five. Corey's real organized in his mind. So he's like the top 5 pieces of advice for if you were to walk up to him and say you want to be a UFC fighter. So in this video, I'm kind of going to give my reflection on that. And then if you hadn't seen Corey's video, I guess this would kind of give you a little bit of information from that. If you don't know who Corey is, in my opinion, Corey's the best striker in all of UFC, any weight class. And he's definitely the best striker in 135. I don't think O'Malley could hang with him. But yeah, anyways. The way he listed them, he made it real simple, but then it got complicated. So like his number one thing is be responsible, and the simplest way to put that was don't miss practice. Then he had like being dedicated, and they kind of blended together. But in essence, not only is it not missing practice, it's also, he explained this perfectly. When you're told to do something over and over, and I'm glad he said it like this because it showed me something I struggle with in life. Eventually we get to a point where if you're on the receiving end of being corrected over and over, you get frustrated with it. If you're on the instructional side of telling someone over and over, you get tired of it and it just doesn't happen. So you have to learn to be responsible or dedicated enough in your craft to know what is correct and what isn't correct, and be honest with yourself to correct yourself when you're making mistakes. For example, if you are training and you know your hips need to be this certain way when you're doing this drill, but you do this drill and for whatever reason, say your talent is higher than the people you're doing it with, so the drill or whatever always kind of goes in your favor. But in your head, you know your hips are off, and then people are telling you your hips are off, but you can outperform them in the drill. You're not being honest or responsible with yourself, or being dedicated to the craft, because there's a reason. Assuming there is a correct reason for your hips to be that way, there is something you are never going to discover because you're never going into it. Yeah. All right. And then I think that number 3 was like to have a goal, or to set goals, and it's got to be like long term. And this one made a lot of sense. I guess a lot of the thing, I feel like I'm going to forget one of them because they blended together a lot. But he explained this really well. He's like, he's known a lot of people that their goal is to be in the UFC, and I'll be honest with you, I do too. And then in his position, some of those people make it to the UFC. Well, they didn't realize that was their end goal. They were going to work their whole lives to get towards the UFC, and when they got there, then they didn't know what to do. Well, with a goal like that, once you get there, that's when all the work really starts. Everything just trifolds. It just gets bigger, harder, and badder. If anything, it makes it to where you're probably not having to seek out so much sponsorship or go to your daily job on such regularness, to where you're now having to actually do more physical work. And you have to hold yourself accountable for that. But if that's not your goal, if your goal is something deeper than that, now I kind of recognized this idea in myself a couple years ago, and I talked with my friends about it. I got into fighting for, I was just depressed and wanted something to do, and I always liked fighting. I was just eating, working, coming home and repeating every day, and it was just getting really, there was no excitement, there was just nothing. So as I started fighting, and I never really wanted to compete or anything, but I got better at it and stuff, I was like, well, why? I had to spend time thinking back why. And to be honest, my real goal at the time was I wanted to walk amongst these people that do all this in my community. I would be looking at Facebook, and I'm not going to name people's names, but I can't say befriended everyone I wanted to befriend. I would see people with a belt on, looking cool, posing for a picture in their profile picture, or they're standing in a cage smiling after a fight and all this. And I was like, man, that's so cool. I want to fit in and understand. I didn't necessarily want to be them. I just wanted to be a part of all this. But little did I know, once I kind of got to where I was amongst all them, and like they were my friends and my peer group, and the way I can look back now and recognize that as a peer group is like, I wasn't looking up to them anymore. We were talking side to side to each other about ideas and how to work and everything like that. Once I got there, I didn't recognize I had achieved that goal at all. I was off on 100 other things. It's like, as you get on the journey, you find other things to attract your mind, and you just develop new goals. So then it's like although the goal was to walk amongst them, one of the steps in that is to perfect a jab, or to perfect a striking style is probably a better way. So then I'm obsessed with volume. So volume is occupying my thoughts for a year instead of like any specific area of walking amongst them, if that makes sense. I feel like I'm not gonna, now that I'm here, I feel like I don't remember what 4 and 5 were on the list, guys. I'm sorry. It all sort of blended together. Another one was like being smart. I don't think that's how he worded it, but he said it was, I don't remember if it was probably 4, but it was like knowing who you need to work with and who you don't need to work with. And so like, if you keep going to the same people and having the same results, and you don't believe that is building up your technique, then you've got to be willing to make a change in that. Like, you've got to be able to go to someone who is going to build what you need, or have a conversation. Like, you have to be able to take the steps. And those can be really, really hard in life, because you're going to build friendships with people. And it's not saying you need to leave a gym or anything like that, but we've all got training partners that go too hard, or they got a chip on their shoulder. And it's, as you become more talented in whatever, you can develop a target on your back, or you feel you have a target on your back. You feel you have something to prove. There may be times when you just need to not waste your energy on that person. And it may not be because you don't need to get into a hard sparring match. It may need to be because this is something for real with me. These hard sparring matches, if I didn't agree to it ahead of time and someone does, I'm angry for days. And that ruins my thought and progression of my craft. So instead of thinking about, well, what if I threw this strike, and what if I threw that strike? What if we threw a kick here for the next 2 days? I'm thinking about, why is this asshole trying to hit hard when he knows I don't want to hit hard? And then as soon as I hit hard and crock him 3 times, he's like pissed off and acting like I'm going too hard when he brought it to my door. You know what I mean? It's you got to be smart. You got to learn yourself and take care of yourself. Man. Well, I got 4 of the 5. I know that was 4 of the 5. I forget what the 5th one was. That's really actually pretty fair. That's really fair. If you want to know the 5th one, you're going to have to go to Corey's channel and check out his video. Now, I have no intent of being a UFC fighter or anything like that. But when you sit and watch all this, I don't know how to explain it. It makes a lot of sense to be smart. I hear a lot of the same things from the same people. So say this might be really good. Say we pick any town in America that has fighters, but it's like a town like mine. Like I don't think anyone from my town has made it to the UFC. If they had, I'm sorry. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe 1 or 2. Anyways, but say you take everyone, and it doesn't have to be my town, we'll say a different town, but it's like a smaller town, I guess, and you grab all the fighters in that community together and you start asking about what would make a UFC fighter or what would make a fighter good. Chances are the majority are going to say a lot of the same things. What creates, as compared to if we were to take every UFC fighter, or grab a handful of UFC fighters and interview them and ask them what to say, I would bet those UFC fighters are going to be way, way more specific, and they're going to say things that these other ones haven't at all. And what I'm trying to point out in that is, when the whole group of the community is consumed by the same conversations and thoughts and everything, you stagnate with innovation. And that's not really anyone's fault, That's just something I see. So if you were to get one gym doing one thing different in that community with a completely different outlook, and they didn't interact with the other gyms, you could basically have a whole nother town inside that town, if that makes sense. And they could have a whole different outlook on fighting than all the other ones. It's hard to really word where I'm going with all that. But yeah. Well, I'm pulling up back home. That's 10 minutes. So in summary, today we went over, Sandhagen was saying, the top 5 pieces of advice to someone that wants to be in the UFC. And I kind of gave my my explanation, my interpretation of his first 4. And then number 5, you'll have to go to Sandhagen's channel and check it out. Y'all have a good one. We got some open rounds for people at the gym tonight at 5 if anyone wants to come through.